Hey guys, Marcus Brown again here, FlowPoint Podcast, Episode 5. Got to have a little sit down with our VP at HO Skis, Dave Wingerter, the legend, Bob LaPoint, 5-time world champion, 5-time world record holder, and our chief designer, Jeff Shaw at HO Skis. So this is a really cool opportunity just to sit down and kind of have a roundtable discussion with these guys about some of the things that maybe we don't get to talk about or share with you guys in the other forum. And we just did a little testing here at my lake at the Ridge in Chico, California. And this was kind of at the end of that testing session. We got to chat for a few before everybody flew back to their homes. So enjoy this one. Let me know what you think. Shoot us some feedback, what you want to see next.
I'm sitting here with Jeff Shaw, our lead designer at HO Skis. Is that your title?
Yes.
Yeah. Dave Wingerter, VP of HO Skis, and Bob LaPoint. Doesn't need an intro.
Needs a shave, but no intro.
Needs a shave, no intro. Yeah, we just got done with 3 or 4 days of testing here at my place in Chico, California, and figured I'd sit these guys down before they all scatter back to their homes and their lives. So, how'd it go this week, by the way? We didn't really.
The
talk
weather
about
was
that.
good.
Weather was good.
75. Water's like 62, 63.
Testing was pretty good too.
Yeah.
Went well.
Yeah.
For sure.
We got some exciting stuff coming, maybe.
I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the crossover skis rad and the syndicate ski. I got to ride them all, so it's pretty cool to ride them.
It's good if he says he's stoked. You can tell he's pretty even keel. So if he's stoked,
Yeah, that's like the meter's going off the chart.
exactly,
Right now.
exactly. Bob, talk real quick about Bob, 5-time world champion. In case you don't know that, world record holder, all that stuff. Long time ago, my idol when I was growing up. Not anymore. He's kind of doing that. But
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
No, talk about when you first started, when you came on board with HO. How long has it been?
Oh, it's a good question. I think goes back to about 2008, I believe.
Was it?
When did you?
I started in 06.
06.
No,
No,
and
so it was
maybe-
about then, 07 probably.
Yeah, 07.
Yeah.
About 10 years.
Yeah.
10
I
years.
think the first thing that happened was, well, it actually goes back to CP. Because
Yeah.
Parrish was riding for Brian. And HO, you guys signed.
Yeah, it was
Chris?
signed Parrish like maybe spring of 2006. I think so.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
when and then CP kind of said, yeah, okay, that sounds good, but Bob builds my skis, kind of, because I had been doing that for him at O'Brien, so
Thanks,
I
CP.
came along with it. Yeah, thanks, exactly. And then obviously HO had gone through a big transition, a big turnover, if you will, new management and whatnot, and you were on board, and it seemed to really click. I had some information you guys could use, and you were on the cutting edge as far as wanting to develop new stuff, and that's where we went.
How many years have you been designing, developing skis?
Oh wow!
What year?
I'd say now you're gonna now you can see how old I really am.
I got a calendar if you need to look
Yeah.
at it.
Good. First ski I actually designed was for Maharaj in 1970. I want to say 76, 75 or 76. Had worked with Herb at HO back before that on skis they had, and we kind of tinkered with them. The first fiberglass skis, in fact, it was made by Composite Structures,
Yeah.
and also Herb, because they were all kind of together at the time developing that fiberglass ski. 'Cause before that, in fact, 1977 Worlds, I won on a wood ski.
Who was on composite then? Was anybody?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there were, and the reason 77 I was on it was because that was a prototype for the Maharaja composite ski. But we had made all of our prototypes out of wood back
Wood,
then,
yeah.
and then we basically splashed a mold, a soft tool off of that. Yeah.
What about you? What's the background? Dave's an engineer, worked in aerospace, but you really
Yeah, I
started.
mean, grew up skiing, just like recreational skiing, and
Yeah.
got into tournament skiing and did that for a long time. Like went to the nationals every year since I think maybe like 98. So that was kind of what I did. And went to University of Colorado, got a degree in mechanical engineering. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Tried to kind of dabble in the skiing thing. Ended up working at Lockheed Martin for a little while on the Atlas rocket program, which is pretty cool. And then kind of wasn't still interested in skiing, so I went to Florida to ski with Wade Cox for a year and Chris Rossi, and actually that's how I got my opportunity to come to HO, because I was going to actually move to Seattle and work for Boeing, or Utah and work for a company called ATK, which did like rocket casings, and then they said, hey, would you like to come to Seattle and interview for this job? And I said, yeah, if you pay me what they paid me at Boeing, I'll do it. And they said, yeah. I was like, whoa, I can't believe that worked. So
Yeah, best of both worlds.
yeah, so been doing that for 10 years, almost 11 years. It'll be 11 years in April. So
I got best Wade Cox story. Pick one.
me?
Yeah. You grew up with Wade. Come on, you hung out with him all the time. Let's hear a Coxie story.
I'm trying to think of what I can tell.
It's got to be semi-PG.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. Come
I
on
don't
now.
know. Oh, I got a pretty good one actually. Like, so it would have been 2005. We skied all through the winter, and I don't know if you've ever been to Wade's Lake, but he has 2 slalom courses. He has one right in front of the dock, and he has one on the far side of the lake,
Yep.
which we call Jurassic Park, because it literally looks
Yeah.
like
The trees.
it looks like
Cypress trees.
there could be dinosaurs out there. Well,
Yeah.
there actually are. There's alligators, and that's where they hang out. We go out there. It's like February. We go to fix a buoy, and I jump in. I dive down. I'm trying to work on the ropes, and it's all just mangled, dude. You know, typical Florida style slalom course. And he's like, "Oh," I'm like, "Dude, I need a knife. I got to cut through this." He's like, "Oh no, I don't have one in the boat." He's scrambling around the boat or something, and I'm like, he's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll get one." And I'm like, "Dude, you don't have one." He's like, "Oh, I'll go around back and get one." I'm like, "You're gonna leave me?" And he just takes off. And he goes in, and I'm literally sitting there like about a mile from the dock or half mile, hanging on this like gnarly vine thing with Jurassic Park background. I'm
Crocodiles.
looking around for gators, you know. He was in there for like 20 minutes, scraping around.
Probably
Comes out
made
with a
himself a
butter knife.
sandwich or something.
Yeah, exactly. No sense of urgency. I was like panicked the whole time. Yeah, it was good.
You gotta
Good
sit
times.
there and act like a buoy. Don't
Exactly. I was like, dude, where you been?
Don't breathe.
Oh, dude. I was like, oh, dude, you'll never believe it. So we had a lot of. It was actually cool skiing with Wade. I mean, he was my hero growing up skiing, and to actually get to hang out with him and train with him for a year and work with him, that's like a dream come true.
Yeah.
So super stoked on that.
Jeff, Shaw,
Yes.
what's your background?
Mechanical engineer and industrial designer.
How did you end up at HO?
Through a very interesting set of circumstances. It just so happened I had gotten off one job doing automotive design, and I was looking for something locally, geographically close to home, and it just so happened that HO had an opening. I talked to Dave,
Yeah.
and the rest is history. So
How many years?
I've been at HO now for over 5 years.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
it's been a lot of fun. I get to work with you guys,
Yeah.
a team of lots of experience, incredible athletes, and
Who
as-
asks you a lot of questions? Can you do this? How do you do this?
It's a lot of fun because I get to sit here and decipher everything,
Yeah.
put it together hopefully in a package that
Yeah.
everybody can use. So designing skis is a lot of fun.
It's part of that is from testing stuff on the wire. You know, we got Will and JT in particular, and Marcus over the years too, doing a lot of testing, and it's translating what we feel and what we think we want and getting it into Jeff, and then he's basically turned into a totally different language. You know, numbers and all the stuff in these programs, and making that happen. And it takes a while, but we've kind of all gelled,
Yeah.
and it's working out real well.
I think it's a unique situation where you don't have a very strong water ski background per se.
Right.
So we're speaking one language. We have this one background, and you come at it from a totally different angle, and it tends to bring us all more towards common ground together.
Yeah.
Instead of like you speaking the exact same language, because you see things we don't. You know, we see some things that you don't. So I think that's a unique kind of characteristic as far as the design team goes.
Yeah, I think it's fun to be
Very
able
true.
to bring something new to the table. So
Yeah.
hopefully it makes us a better developed team.
No doubt.
So
Can we talk about our design, your design kind of process and history throughout the last 10 years, and how, I mean, is there anything off limits? Can
No,
we-
whatever. Open book.
Well, I mean,
We got nothing to hide.
it feels like there's a lot of numbers, and there's a lot of history. There's a lot of you guys have been logging a lot and learning as you go.
I think something that we were kind of on early was trying to quantify ski design. I always tell people that. It's like,
well, let's back up for a second. Bob, what was it like back in the day when you guys were hand shaping skis and soft tool molding?
That's what we were. It was all hand done. There wasn't.
Just give a quick Reader's Digest, because people don't understand the difference.
Yeah, well, I think earlier prototypes, going back into the 70s, it was all wood. They were wood skis, so you were limited on what you could do with it. Obviously, it was it wasn't really three-dimensional, I guess you could say. You were starting with a piece of wood that was this thick, and you could put a concave in it, but it ran the parallel with the rocker line, because that's what it did, because you were on a machine. You couldn't you couldn't do different planes, different rocker lines, that kind of stuff. And then it was all hand-shaped with routers, sanders, whatnot. But you couldn't really quantify it. You could look at it, you could measure certain things, but it wasn't 100%.
Yeah.
And then most of the time back then we would do soft tools, because you were basically casting right off what you had made by hand. Then you went into the transition to actually, okay, if you want to do a cut-a-mold, machine it, we got to start talking about some numbers and rockers and stuff. Yeah. But it was all, started out with the big word back 7, 8 years was splines. Everything was a spline. Right. You were kind of doing dots and kind of finding the best line to kind of connect them.
Yeah.
And all along we were trying to gather information and try, like Dave says, try to put a number to stuff like radiuses and whatnot, so that you could reproduce things rather than saying, well, there's a spline that kind of looks like that spline. Yeah. Really, and by keeping the data over the years, we're able to narrow it down and get exactly what we want.
One thing I've seen from that is you guys are really good at, I mean, I don't know what other ski companies are capable of, but you guys, with Jeff's help, you can go in, you can come up with a completely original design, out of thin air, basically, based on these radii and these values and these variables you guys have been honing in and zeroing in on, and right out of the box, the ski is actually pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, it's changed a lot. So 10 years ago, when we did our first ski A1, I mean, we had a pre-existing ski, which was a Monza. We rode it, and we're like, yes, we like these aspects, we don't like these aspects. And actually, Bob did the handwork. Yeah. He would make a ski for Will or Wade Cox or Chris Parrish or myself at the time, and he put a bigger bevel on the offside. And we'd be like, oh, yeah, we feel it pull in. And he put a rail in the concave. We'd feel like, oh, we get more angle. And, oh, we put a wider tail on it. We say, oh, we've got more lift in the tail. And then essentially handed it to me and the engineer, and we had to do the CAD. Nowadays, when we go to do a new ski, we don't do that. We don't take a VTX and modify. We literally sit with Will and Bob and Jeff and you, and you say, okay, what do we want it to do? And we have so much data. We have 10 years of numbers. We can say, oh, we want the flat spot to be from here to here, and we want it to be a radius, and we want more kick in the nose and less kick under the back foot, and we want to take the back 10 inches and do this. We want to pull the tail in. We want to run a 450 bevel. We want to transition to a little bit rounder. We want to shrink it down in the tail. I mean, we're just designing by values now. Yeah. Jeff can build it. We get 95% of the way there, and then we give it to probably the best test team in the world, like Bob watching, Will riding, JT riding, and we can dial them in. Yeah.
They used to. It's like go back. A1, A2, A3. They were kind of a evolution. We made modifications to A2, and now we're at the point where we decided, okay, we kind of rode that wave as far as it could go, and we kind of went to a blank sheet on this latest thing. And with the data we have, it was, I'm not gonna say easy, but it made life a lot easier on the first go around. It came out really, really good.
I remember we did A1, we maybe cut 4 or 5 molds. We cut 1, it was pretty good. We cut 2, I remember Will went out and he literally went inside one ball at 28 off. So that just goes to show back in the day, we weren't even close.
Shots in the dark.
It was total shots in the dark. And looking back, I hate to say it, kind of got lucky, really. You know what I mean? Now we can get, you can run 38 your first time. You can run 39 your first time. Now we're tweaking variables,
Yeah. I think for people who don't understand ski design, it's hard to realize, or it's hard to wrap your head around the fact that it's not as scientific as everybody would like to think. It's not, you put a ski in a wind tunnel or a flume, and you can look at the values and say, oh, wow, well, we need to tweak this or that. Because we're asking the ski to do many different things. We're asking it to go straight.
Yeah.
We're asking it to track. We're asking it to carve. We're asking it to skid.
Yeah.
We're asking it not to pop out of the water, tip or tail. So there's a lot of unknowns, and it's just almost art and design.
Yeah, and it's a package. It's a whole package. You know, we always talk about, well, you got a bevel, you got a concave, you got a rocker, you got a flex. And any of those variables, you change any one of them, and it throws that package totally out of whack. One bevel, smaller, steeper bevel might work on one package, but it might not work on another.
It's all the combination.
Yeah, it's all a combination.
What's the goal? What do you guys hope to see happen in the next 3 to 5 years? Can we talk about that?
World dominance.
I mean,
Aside from the
my
obvious.
goal really hasn't changed. Like I come from a snow ski background. Like grew up snow skiing. I remember we had skis, and then all of a sudden we had these new skis that had this like side cut to them. And before that, you had to be really good to carve a turn. And then once you had side cut, I mean, you could just carve like anybody could do it. It changed. It like made me fall in love with the sport again. I think I've been searching for that side cut moment for water skis for a decade.
Yeah.
Are we getting any closer?
Well, yeah, and I think
And I don't mean literally side cut. I mean like that feeling.
But whatever, that feeling. And that's kind of been my passion the last 3 or 4 years is, okay, the high-end slalom market, it's very refined, and I'm thinking, I want to explore more of the lower level skier, make him have more fun, enjoyable, make it more enjoyable, and that's what side cuts did on snow skis.
Totally.
I'm the same with you. I have more fun skiing now, snow skiing, than I ever had.
Yeah.
Because the skis are so much. So, that's where I start putting more energy into the crossover skis and stuff, and you can learn from each other. You can learn stuff from the slalom ski that you can carry over to the crossover and vice versa. Totally. That's why we started playing with some of these different sidewalls and all this other stuff.
No sidewalls.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons I originally came to HO after being with Denny for over a decade, was because you guys, I could see the passion. I could see Bob was really stoked on what was happening. Dave, you had a lot of expertise, but you guys made recreational skis, and that was I didn't have that at the other company. So for me, it was like, that's where I think the sport has the most potential for growth. And you guys were providing people with those skis and those tools to be able to go out and do that. So then when we started working on the free ride, when you guys basically helped make the free ride, and I helped slightly on the outside develop it, what we saw was we learned with that, and that some of that technology kind of trickled up the product line to made it to the high-end syndicate stuff, which then other brands started kind of copying that more or less. And so that kind of opened our eyes, like, look, we can focus on this high-end stuff, but we can also try to focus on the recreational guys, and 90% of the people out there and girls who are learning how to ski or want to just go out and have fun 5 times a year on the lake. And if we can make their experience better, we may learn something that we can then apply to the Will Ashley.
Exactly. There's a trickle down effect, and there's also the the opposite trickle.
I don't even know how that works. It's physically impossible, but it's working. So
it's like I go out to the lake, ski lot in Reno, and I see these guys that are, they're basically recreational skiers, want to get into slalom skiing, and I look at them and they're on a 65-inch high-end slalom ski, and I go, that's not
what you should be on.
It's not what you should be on. I grab a crossover, I hand it to them, and instantly they're skiing better than they ever have. They're telling all their friends about it. They're having fun. And they're like, hey, I want to give one of these to my buddy to try. Let him try it. So like you were saying, that's where the big market is.
You can affect more change if you play in the bigger market, right? That's the whole idea. You play in the tournament market, you affect some change, but it's a small niche. Like, we almost know everybody.
Yeah, it's really small.
You go to the crossover market, the freeride market, I mean, you're gonna affect more change. No doubt.
Why did you start skiing back in the day?
Originally?
First
time.
What happened?
First time I tried to ski, I got out. This happened for basically a whole summer play. We'd go out. I put the double skis on.
How old were you?
I was 6, I believe, 5 or 6. I put the skis on, and then they'd start the boat up, and I'd get scared, and I said, I don't want to do this. So we'll try it again in a couple of weeks. I did that basically, almost the whole first summer. But then I finally did get up and enjoyed it. What got me going more than anything was where we used to ski in the Delta. We grew up skiing, and we launched the boat, and it was like a 6 to 8 mile drive to the course.
Yeah.
So as soon as we launched the boat, get out of the 5 mile zone, my dad said, "Bob, you're in the water," and I'd ski the whole, like a 20, 30
Free
minute
ski.
drive. Free ski, just free ski. Back and forth.
Is that
back and
how you
forth.
got those Popeye forearms? hanging
I'd
on
ski
the
all the way
rope?
out the course, then they'd all do their thing in the course, and then I'd ski all the way back. So
Wow.
I don't know what that had to do with my development, but
Yeah.
I think it was a good thing.
Did you and Chris start skiing around the same time?
Yeah, he
2 years older.
yeah, but it was the same year. But I actually never did
You
go
never
out the
actually-
first year, whereas he did.
He's in the water.
He won his nationals in 65 in 1965 at 12 years old. His first nationals.
What was it like having a big brother to chase and push and be
It was
pushed
good,
by?
and I think there wasn't instructional videos. There wasn't a how-to.
Yeah.
We
Right.
kind of developed the style on our own.
Yeah.
And the same thing with skis. We realized the skis that they had would take you so far, and then we started playing with bevels and whatnot. Back then it was files and sandpaper.
Yeah.
Trying to make them a little better.
I feel like it was a little harder for you guys. Number one, because technology was weak or in its infancy.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of people skiing, and it wasn't like for Dave and I where we were watching Wade on TV, and I was watching you and Andy Mapple
Yeah.
on ESPN, and that stuff is what I came to Okahili in 1998, watch you guys see the U.S. Open, Jeff Rogers, Patrice, all those guys, Shea Lander, and that's what, as stupid as it sounds, that's what hooked me. I knew right then I wanted to try to do something in skiing. I didn't think I was ever going to be pro, but I wanted to try to do something. Dave had something similar, and he skied professional events. You've done really well in some pro events.
Yeah.
You didn't have that. You guys didn't have that growing up. So who did you look to? Who was influential in your life as you started out? skiing?
I mean, my first hero was Chuck Stearns was my hero when I was a little kid. But Chris, he set a world record at 13 years old. Men's world record at 13 or 14.
Yeah, but you guys had full beards when you were 13.
No, not quite. But the point is that he was
Good.
already the best in the world at say 14. So that's who I had to learn from.
Yeah.
And so then I started getting better, and we started pushing each other, and yeah, we didn't have anybody else to do it. But and then the big thing now though is the equipment. It's like I didn't ski for about 6-7 years. I had a hip replacement back in 2002, and I had been out of the sports like I'm done. I got back involved through a weird circumstance with CP and that, and then actually started skiing again. Coming down here, skiing.
Yeah, here at the Ridge.
At the Ridge, and I mean, I ran. Started running 39. I skied.
You run 39.
Yeah, but probably more times here than I had in my professional career 20 years before, because the equipment's so much better.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, there's been test skis that I can't run a pass on, and Bob can still run 38 off on. So it's you're not really the greatest. You're the best tester, but you're not really the greatest.
No, I'm not. But I got a pretty good feel. And speaking of that, who's Will Asher has.
He was the worst tester.
Well, I was going to say the first test session we did was at Wade's place, and it was CP and Will.
Yeah.
They were both skiing on at the time the
Monza.
Monzas.
Yeah.
And I had already kind of been working with CP some, so I was able.
CP was a good tester.
Yeah, he was a good tester, and I could talk to him, and the first time I never forget with Will went out, and I go, so we stopped in the lake. I had first time I even had met him.
Met him, yeah.
Then I see, and he's got that English accent. I said, so how'd that feel? And he's kind of looking at me, different, and that's about all you get out of him. That's not a whole lot to
There's
go
no
with.
give and take.
But he has developed into, I think, the best tester in the world these days.
He knows what he kind of has an idea of what he wants, and he can shape and get there with his hands if you're not.
Yeah.
Oh,
But he can
that's good.
translate. He can, what he's feeling. Like I say, didn't have to say much. So I used to just watch. I could learn a lot by watching him in the boat, and then we started communicating more and more, until it's like now when I got down there, it's like we're on the boom on the same page, same wavelength, and it's impressive piece.
What
Really good.
Why'd you start skiing, Dave?
Well, my mom and dad were school teachers, so we had summers off. We had a cottage in northern Michigan. We lived on a lake. And my grandpa lived 2 doors down, and my uncle and aunt would come, and people just skied. My family, they were water skiers. They weren't like competitive water skiers, but they rode the wooden discs behind the boat. And my uncle like maybe learned to barefoot, and I just wanted to be a skier. And that was how I got in the water on 2 skis. And then really the big change for me was there was this guy who lived like 4 or 5 doors down from me who was, his name was Kip Knight. He was on the Michigan State water ski team. And he used to like get up real early at 7 in the morning and ski right in front of my house or ski right at dusk. And I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I literally would like walk down on the dock and watch because, you know, he was a skier. He had the rhythm and before that we were just cutting around. We didn't know what we were doing. And then eventually him, another good buddy of mine, Paul Larson, put a slalom course in, and then we were hooked. I mean, we just would ski. I skied every morning and every night all summer long. I didn't even know what training was, but essentially we were training.
Yeah.
I don't know what, you know, and we were just skiing in the course, and, you know, you get good really fast, and then you get hooked.
What's your biggest accomplishment? You consider your prized possession, performance?
Oh, skiing wise? Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
You won a national title.
Yeah, I won nationals. That'd probably be one of them.
Yeah.
2009, men's one national champion. That was cool. I've been runner-up 3 or 4 times. I've won in run-offs, lost in run-offs. I think maybe, honestly, for me, like, consistency. Like, I think for a while I had run 38 at the nationals, like 6 consecutive years.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it sticks with me, but that was a big one for me.
Big, yeah.
Because it's hard, man. It's one run, once a year, different place, different driver, different competition.
No do-overs.
It can happen.
Skiing against Nate Smith and pro men's, or skiing against men's 1 or men's 2. So I was always pretty stoked on that.
What do you think? What do you think the sport needs to do? Because you just talked about an event that's used to be a rad event. 1988, when I went and watched these guys at the U.S. Open, that was at the end of a week of nationals. It was like 4 days of nationals, and then 2 days of the U.S. Open. Now, nationals is kind of a big week-long event, and it takes forever, and not very many people stick around to watch anybody but the people they know. What's one thing we could do better?
Yeah, I think I'll come back together. I mean, have that U.S. Open or have everyone in the same place. That had a huge effect on me too. Like I was maybe not at the U.S. Open, but like going to Florida and skiing with Wade and actually Carl Roberts, who I used to start skiing with, and I met John Swanson, I met Jim Clooney, and I met a lot of the jumpers back then. I was at that influential age where I was like, dude, this is what I want to do. These guys are cool. They're jumping 200 feet. They're running 39. This is where it's at. And I started kind of chasing that dream. I literally would not be here if it wasn't for meeting those guys.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think however you meet them, if it's at a ski school, that's great, but probably a U.S. Nationals is the best time to meet your heroes.
Yeah.
They're all there, and if you see them doing magical things on the water, then
you're hooked.
And then you chase that carrot, and you do a lot of cool stuff in life. Travel the world being a water skier is pretty cool, you know. So.
See, man, you need to try it.
I do.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't think I could ever match the amount of enthusiasm and passion for the sport that you guys have. Just the time that you guys have in this sport is amazing.
Yeah.
Thing is, you have it just in a different way. You channel it through CAD and design, and you know, but it's you're enabling these guys and everybody else who rides the skis to, you know, grow that passion. So you're doing it. You haven't got on the
different
water yet.
medium. Yeah, exactly.
What do we want to leave? What legacy do you guys want to leave when we're not doing this anymore? Like what
legacy?
What stamp? No, I'm serious. Like you can only build skis so long. You can only be a skier so long. You can only. But are you just gonna like take your ball and go home, or are you gonna do we leave something for other people to build on? You know, how do we do that? How do we best do that so that other people can take the ball and run with it?
Well, I think that's where I know, speaking for myself, I'm trying to do that through the design, make better skis, make them more friendly, have people have more fun, to grow the sport. The whole idea, we got to grow the sport.
Yeah.
That's everybody's, I think,
Totally.
bottom line. And my approach would be make product that's easier, more fun to ski on, and you know, get more people involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, like make change, you know, like not to knock any of the older skis, but I mean, Bob could probably speak this. They change, but maybe just like a little bit every year.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's a 1%.
do we have the guts to take the risk? Do we have the intelligence to pull off the risk to really like affect real change?
Yeah.
And I look back and I think maybe we have, and then sometimes I'm like, man, I wish we would have done more. So now, like looking forward, it's like, can we do it? Can we push it further and further and pull it off? And like, it's cool. Collectively, you have a lot of intelligent people who have tons of experience like Bob, or tons of experience in terms of engineering like Jeff. And I think hopefully we're doing that. So that would be like what I'm trying to do. And then hopefully someone else takes it and runs with it, and it just keeps going. Because if it doesn't, it's going to be hard to grow. You need to get better every year. So.
I think there's been kind of tunnel vision for years.
Totally.
The skis, you look at all the top end skis, especially, they just started getting more and more like each other. And all of a sudden you're looking at basically at everything's
Similar.
Yeah, similar. It's like, okay, let's go
They're just
outside
different
the box.
colors.
Yeah, just go outside the box and bring some new technologies, some kind of crazy stuff and see what
outside the
happens.
box.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully in the past few years, the products we're coming out with now are reinvigorating the sport.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
yeah, and I mean, I'm witness to that. Like I said, I go out to the lake, and it's a mindset as much as anything. People think, oh, I got to ski. I'm going to ski in a course. I got to have a high-end tournament course ski, and we'll actually ride to 66. Oh, I got to ride to 66. You know, even though the guy's 20 or 30 pounds heavier and he's skiing 6 miles an hour slower, you look at those numbers and you go, it doesn't add up. I said, well, yeah, that's great, but here, try this, and you'll have more fun, and they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the point. At the end of the day, everybody's got to be able to step off the water.
I'm not competing anymore, and I'm riding crossover stuff now.
Yeah.
I'm having more fun. It's easier on the body,
Yeah.
and it keeps me going.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. Make sure people can still have an avenue or a channel to be able to get on the water behind the boat, get in the lake, have that experience with their buddies or their family.
And still ski really well. Like every time we say that, I want people to think like, oh, it's just fun. It's not really.
No.
But I mean, like
Crossover stuff.
people are ripping. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're skiing better than ever on that stuff. It's just a little bit more evolved design.
That's what I wish, and I know it's like, it's a brand thing, but I wish there was some like pro skiers I could like commandeer that aren't riding our stuff to ride some crossover stuff or free ride stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's no conflict. Most of the high-end companies
Don't make it.
don't
Yeah,
make any of the stuff
exactly.
that we make. And I just look at like Willie last year running 41 off at 34
That's
miles
right,
an
on
hour.
the CX.
On the CX. It's a crossover ski.
Yeah,
But it wasn't
first time
intended
ever.
to
Yeah.
go shorter than like 35 or 38 off.
Yeah.
So my point is, you guys, you're out there, girls, if you ever want to try something, we'd love just to like get feedback, because this is a passion too, and I think it's growing. We don't always have the best ski every single year in every category. Nobody does.
Yeah.
That's competition, like
Yeah.
one year it's somebody else, next year it's somebody else, then maybe we can get in there, and I think we love that stuff.
Yeah.
As much as we don't always like not being.
Yeah, totally.
I love the
I
competition.
used to tell the boys that all the time. I said, I can't promise we'll always have the best ski in the world, but I promise we'll always be striving to get it.
Yeah.
Like, and some companies don't, right? They're like, it's good enough.
Yeah,
so-
or they're doing it a different way. I just feel like you guys have got 10 years, a decade of 4 decades.
Hey, now, careful.
Just saying.
Yeah, like, just speaking of that though, like I was trying to, I don't know why I was calculating this the other day, but I figured it out that we had cut 75 ski molds, I think, in 10 years.
All right.
So people that say, oh, how do you guys know what you're doing? How are you qualified? Or this new company's got this new ski and they've been working on it and they have all this theory. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good, but you guys cut 1 mold or 2. And we cut 75 in 10 years. You learn a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's not intuitive. You can theorize all day long, and then you get on the water,
Yeah,
and it's
like,
out the window.
It can look great on paper sometimes, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Well, just like this week, we had a high-end syndicate ski. We had a crossover, and then we had something else. We went the whole range of stuff we were testing this week.
Which is good too, because as testers and as athletes, sometimes you get stale in one regard, and then you go grab a crossover ski and you.
you
Like,
get a new
okay,
feeling.
you look at it in a different light, and you feel
Yeah.
a different way, and it's fun again. That's the other thing. I wish we were more like snow sports, where people have powder skis, and they have race skis or groomer skis,
Yeah.
or that backcountry skis. Like
Yeah.
The sport needs to go that way. You can't just have one ski. I just posted today about free skiing
Yep.
because my buddy a couple buddies, I'm not going to mention by name, high-end elite skiers cannot free ski.
Yeah.
I saw Bob today. Bob hadn't skied in a couple months. He's out there two-hand free skiing, looks perfect. But some people grew up always skiing the course and they don't know how to free ski, and that's a problem. Because if you don't know how to turn without a buoy telling you when to turn, you don't know where you are in relation to the boat. You can't find that rhythm.
You don't know how to turn.
Yeah,
You don't know how to turn.
exactly.
So that's a big deal, and I feel like having the ability to grab a different ski for a different application is key.
Totally.
Like, that's the way the sport.
Yeah, it's like
gonna move
it's
forward.
no, you have your quiver, you got your powder ski, you got your all mountain, you got your carver, you got all that stuff.
Surfers are the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have one board.
Yep.
If the waves are triple overhead, you're not going to ride a longboard.
Yeah.
You know, and the same thing. If it's 4 feet high, you're not going to ride a shortboard. So you got to have the right tool for the right day.
It is funny what Marcus, the point you made about the certain. I mean, some of the best skiers in the world, you put them out on a lake with no buoys, and they're lost.
Yeah.
There's like they're so dependent on the buoy for timing wise, and there's a lot you can learn free skiing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not thinking about the buoys, you can think about other things and trying different stuff. Yeah.
Well, I know, like, you know, doing Mastercraft testing with Karen Truelove and Brianne Dodd. Like, I know those two women, like, some of the best skiers in the world, but tough time keeping the rope tight on the first couple turns. You girls get it right after like 4 or 5, but the first couple they're lost. Like, and my buddy Tyler Yeager, same thing.
Yeah.
But phenomenal skiers. So I think there's a deficiency there, and I think obviously having different products, different types of skis to ski on helps, but also just get out and go free ski like once a week. It will not screw up your skiing. Bob does it every time.
It will help your
before.
skiing.
It's going to help your skiing.
Totally.
You need feel. You know, you look at the best skiers in the world. We talk about Will Asher, Regina, Whitney, Nate Smith, and they have that feeling, the intuitive feeling.
Yeah.
You had it, of where you are relative to the pylon, to the boat. When's the boat moving away from you? When can you tuck back in behind the boat? And you need to have that if all else fails.
It gives you a different perspective, if you will. So when you do get back in the course, you can take some of that knowledge that you learn by free skiing.
We should wrap it up because we need to leave more to talk about next time.
And I got to fly home.
And I got to fly home.
Catch a flight.
Thanks, guys, for joining us. We're going to do this again. And I don't know, hosports.com. These are the guys that are the reason that you have all your fun on the lake.
All right.